of over 230 miles per hour. There isn't a group of 3 cars that have qualified in the 229 range. The bubble speed right now, 228.645. To give you an idea as far as what the speed that Chilton needs to turn still for a young man that's in his 2nd year in the IndyCar Series. Pretty solid run he's put together so far.
It is, but he's going to be kicking himself or his engineer, I don't know which one, that they might have gone a little too aggressive on aero.
Found some great speed though in lap number 4, nearly up a full mile an hour. He's 6th currently of the 17 drivers that have qualified. Last year's winner coming up very soon. Found some great speed though in lap number 4, nearly up a full mile an hour. He's 6th currently of the 17 drivers that have qualified. Last year's winner coming up very soon. I love the blend of tradition and modern technology in the last shots that we just showed you. Alexander Rossi with the bottle of milk. Before that, he, Brian Hurd, and Michael Andretti taking a selfie in victory lane. The mix of all things both young and new here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Max Chilton, the last driver on track. His teammate, Charlie Kimball, now enters the fray as the 18th qualifier out of 33 today.
And the thing we all want to know now is, have they applied the same aero settings to Charlie Kimball's car as they did to Chilton, or have they gone more along the lines of Scott Dixon? And if they've gone a little bit heavier on aero, they could be in for a really good run here.
Charlie had been Mr. Consistency at this track in terms of the road course event. This past year was the 4th running of that in the IndyCar Series. He had finished 5th in each of the previous 3 runnings, was never a factor last week and had an early mechanical issue, finished 21 of 22. He could quickly get his focus on this event this week. Speeds have been good, not great. 20th of the 33 cars in practice leading up to this qualification run.
Yeah, but Charlie's one of those quiet assassins that sometimes can just strike. And when he does, he is so strong and he could be a challenge for the win. So let's see what he can do here in qualifying. Currently looking pretty good through turn 1. Not looking like he's got a lot of push. Car rotates really nicely through turn 2 here, running a touch too high. My preference in the middle of that corner.
Could we see all 4 Ganassi cars in the Fast 9 tomorrow afternoon?
We absolutely can, but we still have some Andretti cars to go, and I think that's going to be the big stumbling block for the Ganassi fold here, is that they have that incredibly strong force of Andretti Autosport, and I don't know what it is about Andretti Autosport and Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but so far this year they've had a struggle, but they offload here in Indy and they're super strong.
230.210 miles per hour for Charlie in lap number 1, an outstanding time. And if we can expand this past the realm of just the Chip Ganassi cars, but so far of the Fast 9, 7 Hondas, just 2 Chevrolets.
Yeah, it kind of brings back exactly what we talked about earlier, that Honda definitely has the outright performance advantage. And I'm looking at the engine cover, the right side engine cover of Charlie Kimball, and wondering if that's lifting off a little bit, off the body. I think there's a little bit of an aero deficiency there from the bodywork just being slightly detached, just on the right side at lower mounting points there, so that's not going to help his run any.
Lost about a half a mile an hour, did Charlie in lap number 2. His 2-lap average, 229.948 miles per hour, places him kind of right in the middle of that Fast 9, hence at spot number 5, with still about 5 miles left to go. So Charlie Kimball making his way through the world's greatest race course, trying to qualify for the Indy 500. Coming down the front straightaway to wrap up lap 3 of a 4-lap qualifying speed. Anders, what are you seeing?
I'm still looking at this engine cover mounting here that just seems to be popping up a little bit, and these things are so tightly body fitted that a small seam like that you see on the rear engine cowling can be enough to lose you a tenth or 2 of a mile an hour over the course of the run here.
Well, the funny thing is that I'm not an IndyCar driver. You have been. You see these things. I'm still trying to figure out what you're seeing on there, but I'll take your word for it. Again, solid lap so far for Kimball, 229.80. He's been right around that number 5 spot his entire run.
And this looks like he could potentially bump it in to the top 9 at the end of this. I mean, this is a very, very good run here for Charlie Kimball in 6th.
With that, he bumps Graham Rahal. So here are just the notables that will not run for pole tomorrow. Graham Rahal, Juan Pablo Montoya, James Hinchcliffe, Simon Pagenaud. none of them have a chance at winning the pole for this race tomorrow afternoon.
Do you think the Verizon IndyCar Series is competitive, Greg? I mean, this is just showing how close it all is. And I'm looking here at the timing and scoring, and the guy, again, I'm looking to that I'm so impressed with, Ed Jones, 5th. He's still sitting 5th.
Takuma Sato, 5 years ago, made a dashing last lap attempt for a pass on Dario Franchitti. Could not pull it off. His chance for a win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. His best ever Formula One finish happened here, driving for the BAR Honda team nearly 15 years ago. This place has been both great and cruel to him in a couple of different series.
Yeah, and I remember that race when he was trying to dive down the inside of Dario Franchitti going into turn 1 on that final lap, and thinking to myself, he could have waited just one more corner. But then again, you're on the final lap of the Indy 500 and you think, what if this is my last shot at it? And he rolled the dice and it didn't work out for him at all. But when it comes to outright speed, hardly anyone can challenge Takuma Sato.
Sebastian Bourdais won the opening event of the season on the streets of St. Petersburg, back with Dale Coyne Racing after several years with KV. He too, as we keep this theme going of guys with Formula One ties running in the IndyCar Series, dominant in Champ Car, then to Formula One, solidly successful during his days in IndyCar, but yet to really have that great moment here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
But he genuinely has the chance with Dale Coyne Racing this year. Never before have they put more resource into that team, and look at him run. Currently P1, so this is showing just how strong they are now with Ed Jones in 5th and Sebastian Bourdais in P1.
Oh yeah, and by the way, he has the fastest lap so far of the month. Happened yesterday on Fast Friday, which lived up to its name, 233 miles an hour. He's nearly a mile an hour faster than what anybody else has turned all month long.
Just staggering speed, and looking at the car through the middle of the corner, it's so beautifully free. He uses the full radius of the corner, almost up to the walls, but not because he's being pushed there, because he's able to open up his hands, and this is looking oh so good. He's a 10th and a half quicker so far than Scott Dixon.
In terms of mile per hour, he's a full mile an hour faster than Scott Dixon, much as he was yesterday. He is that way so far. Now, can you keep that speed going? The little team that could. That's kind of the moniker that the Dale Coyne Racing team had with the now sadly late Justin Wilson. What Justin brought to that team a handful of years ago that eventually led to a victory on an oval track in Texas a couple of years back as well. Sebastian brings that type of passion and racing ability to this team. Lap number 2, even better, 231.595. Again, you can't win the pole today, but my goodness, he's flying around the race course.
This is, oh, he loses it. Oh, it's a huge shot.
My goodness. Sebastian Bourdais, as the car comes to a stop, and the fact that his hands immediately go to his visor, a wonderful sign, because any thought about potentially running for the pole, those thoughts end when you see a crash of that magnitude. And the fact that he is getting a little bit of help, but clearly moving inside of that cockpit, is an absolutely wonderful sign.
Oh, what a violent hit, Greg. That I can't believe he's moving around the cockpit, and obviously the Halmatro safety crew here, the best possible crew in racing, attending to him so quickly in that car. So now it's just a matter of safely extracting him from that car, making sure that they don't add to any potential injuries that he's got. But just a vicious hit here for Sebastian Bourdais.
Well, clearly we have a rather large debris field that we will be cleaning up for some time. So this will bring our qualification efforts to a halt. But again, that is very much a secondary concern as of now. The health and well-being of Sebastian Bourdais is our major concern, as the Halmatro safety team speaking to him as we speak. Nothing but best thoughts and wishes as his team is looking on. And my goodness, what a run he had going.
Yeah, that was looking incredible, and it just got a little bit too free on him, and he hit the angle. The angle that he hit the wall at is the worst possible at about a 45-degree angle right up against the wall. Whew.
Obviously the safer barrier there in place. You saw the safety team checking on that just outside of turn 2. This series innovative in terms of its safety initiatives. This track helps lead the way for that. But you said it right. It was the angle and obviously the speed at which he was going. There's never anything such as a light crash, but clearly that was far from it.
Yeah, you have a lot of things helping you here in the Verizon IndyCar Series. You look up to the top of your screen where you have the safer barrier, which is basically 2 layers filled with foam. We're getting a better view of it here. Those are foam filled to take up a lot of the impact. Then you have all the carbon fiber crumple zones. You'll notice that the front wing got torn right off the car. The corners of the car got ripped right off, and we see Alexander Rossi here, his run. And this is a terrible feeling for Alexander Rossi as well, to sit there and hope that Sebastian Bourdais is all right.
So he will play the waiting game for a while because, again, they are checking the safer barrier to make sure it's okay. Then you go into cleanup mode as you see so many of the track workers out trying to clean the track as quickly as possible. Again, that is secondary right now. It is making sure that Sebastian is okay, that they can safely remove him from the race car, and that from a health standpoint, that he will be okay.
And the Halmatro safety crew always does such a good job.
And frankly, the fact that the car somewhat disintegrated in the fashion the way it did, obviously that is done trying to dissipate the impact and trying to reduce as much as you can the amount of force that was taken on that massive contact that was made in turn 2.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So the more parts that come off the car, the better.
Well, clearly best thoughts and wishes for Sebastian Bourdais and the Dale Coyne Racing team. What was a very fast qualifying run comes to an all too abrupt end. Back with more at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in just a matter of moments. Again, back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Sebastian Bourdais had turned the 2 fastest laps of qualifying attempts. He had the fastest lap in the month of May yesterday, and he was on his way towards qualifying for a potential run at pole tomorrow afternoon. That all ended on lap 3 of his run. Lost control of the car heading into turn number 2. Again, the safety crew out there virtually immediately. The ambulance there, clearly, as you can tell. And they're going to be very careful in extricating him from the car. The very positive sign that you and I noticed immediately was the fact that you saw his hands moving and going to kind of trying to up the visor and to communicate with the safety crew. Doesn't mean there still could not be some level of injury. However, you see that immediate recognition of help being there. That's a very good sign for everyone involved.
Yeah, it is indeed. But just going back to the Halmatro safety crew, I mean, these guys have stayed together as one team. They travel to every Verizon IndyCar Series team together. You'll notice after any crash at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the crew is there very often within 30 seconds of the car actually coming to a halt. So there is no other crew in the business that goes about it the way that they do. And so Sebastian is in the absolute best hands possible, and we just hope he is doing okay.
So the cleanup efforts continue. And before we even start to speculate about what does Dale Coyne Racing do in terms of the 18 machine, all thoughts and concerns are with Sebastian Bourdais first and foremost. Again, what a racing resume he has put together, and we noted Formula One, Champ Car, IndyCar. He's had the opportunity of running at Le Mans, and obviously as a native Frenchman, what an honor that was for him. But clearly with the run that he was on and the speed that he has found this week, the thought in his mind was, I have a chance to win the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
And not just that, I mean, up until the last 2 races, they were leading the championship. I mean, they won at the Street of St. Petersburg. They had another few solid runs, and then it all kind of started unraveling with an engine failure here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course, and then that big turn 1 wreck at Phoenix that he was involved with. But I talked to Dale Coyne earlier this year, and I said, is this the year when you guys legitimately gun for a championship? Like you alluded to earlier with the late Justin Wilson, they got as close as they'd ever been to a qualifying run, or to a championship run. But I think this is the year when Dale said, you know what, enough's enough. I want to have it out with the big boys. And so far this year, they have been just mighty impressive.
Dale has been working at this for a long, long time. Clearly one of the best drivers that has ever graced that seat for Dale Coyne Racing.
And I think his Champ Car resume, when you look at the numbers, it almost doesn't justify just how dominant he was. I mean, the guy would win on any type of track, was able to save more fuel than any other driver, would just out-qualify the field by a half a second at certain road and street courses in Champ Car. And to be honest with you, he was one of the main reasons why I wanted to move to the U.S. to be like him.
Pieces from the number 18 machine, as again, the health and well-being of Sebastian Bourdais, the largest concern right now. A change in the mood and then some here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And he just rounds turn 1, everything's looking good, but then on the entry to turn 2, you'll see the rear end just snap loose a little bit on him in the middle of the corner. He tries to correct it, and that's what places the car at such an awful angle, that 45-degree angle there. Oh.
And so often you see the impact in that corner be more of a side impact. It was not a full impact, but enough to make it a very scary moment. Cleanup continues on the back straightaway here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So what had been a flurry of activity for the last hour and 30 minutes has come to a halt. Safer barrier repair being done as we speak. Again, track cleanup taking place as we speak. And obviously our concerns are with Sebastian Bourdais. And it appears that just given the fact they are exiting the speedway in that fashion, they may be going directly to downtown Indianapolis. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with Sebastian at this time. A scary incident here in qualifying at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Very scary indeed, and thoughts also with the Dale Coyne Racing crew, who has obviously a long job ahead of them. Just look at the carbon fiber tub here. Basically, what you see left here is exactly what you want to happen. You want everything to get torn off the car except the cockpit, which is the survival cell, if you will. That's what you want to stay intact, and it did its job tremendously. You see no cracks in the tub other than where the direct impact was, so that's a very good thing to see.
And again, he is being taken directly to Methodist Hospital, and we referenced Methodist, if not by name, then by with what happened with James Hinchcliffe in the practice after qualifying 2 years ago in 2015. It has been responsible for a lot of lives saved, and of course that is outside of what happens at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but instead of going to the infield care center, they're going to go directly downtown, which that ambulance ride will not take that long, but clearly it will feel like an eternity for those that have, you know, concerns for Sebastian and all up and down the IndyCar paddock. It might be tough to focus for these remaining 14 drivers that will attempt to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 today.
Indeed, all of them are going to be thinking about Sebastian, and I think that's another thing that makes the IndyCar community so great, is just how tight-knit everyone is with each other. It doesn't matter if you're racing on this team or that team, everyone hangs out together. Most people are all friendly with each other, and Yeah, so they're all going to be pulling for Sebastian right now, as well as Dale Coyne Racing.
So it's a little track dry being put on to clean up any potential of the oil that might have spilled or any just fuel that might have spilled there. Clearly some more pieces of debris coming out of turn 2 will have to be cleaned up as well, and the crew working on the safer barrier as we speak. Cleanup continues from a very scary incident here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Cleanup activities continue here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway alongside Anders Krohn, Greg Rakestraw with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Qualification efforts did not start until just after 4 o'clock local time today because of significant rain earlier today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It led to a different format where each car and driver combination got one qualification attempt. 18 drivers had gotten through without incident here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Driver number 19 was the driver of the number 18 machine, that being Sebastian Bourdais. No one had the speed that Sebastian Bourdais had on his opening 2 laps, both over 231 first 0.4 and then 231.5 miles per hour. But you saw the replay just a moment ago. Now you see what is left of that number 18 machine. A very scary and significant impact just getting out of turn number 2. Dale Coyne's number 18 team heading back to Gasoline Alley against Sebastian Bourdais heading on to the hospital in downtown Indianapolis. Cleanup continues. Don't know how long a period of time it will take. Again, we will resume qualifications at some point in time soon, but right now that's frankly not where our focus is. So Alexander Rossi, again, will be the next driver on the track. But the weight that you never want to have in a scenario like this after a significant incident involving Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, we talked about how tricky of a job it was going to be for Pippa Mann being the first driver out. This is even trickier now. Alexander Rossi strapped into that 98 Andretti Autosport Napa Auto Parts car, and there's nothing worse than just sitting in the cockpit of the car and just waiting. You don't know exactly when you're going to get to go out, and that's a terrible feeling. And looking at the speedy dry they've put down on the exit of turn 2, that's also another kind of unnerving visual thing as a driver. Even though it's you're going in a straight line, you still have this feeling of how many grain particles of grain have I got on my tires. Is that going to affect me going into turn 3? So Alexander Rossi, he was put in a difficult situation last year trying to win the 500. He's being put in an equally difficult situation here to try and qualify for the race.
As far as the lineup coming up momentarily, it is the defending race winner, Alexander Rossi, Marco Andretti, Takuma Sato, so 3 consecutive Andretti Autosport cars. Joseph Newgarden following that as well. Right now, the fastest to complete the 4-lap run, Scott Dixon. Currently the driver on the bubble of this Fast 9 is Helio Castro-Neves. Notables that we know will not be running for the pole tomorrow: Graham Rahal, Juan Pablo Montoya, James Hinchcliffe, and Simon Pagenaud. Again, 14 more cars still need to complete their qualifying run here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, you see a very somber mood here, and rightly so, in the paddock. Everyone just wanting to know if Sebastian Bourdais is okay. That's the only thing anyone cares about now. Qualification times are good and important, but yeah, Mario Andretti sitting down on the wishbone there of Marco Andretti's car. Yeah, again, just thoughts with Sebastian Bourdais.
Safer barrier repair work continues. Clearly, that setup did its job. And we're doing a little bit of welding there to make sure that that barrier is intact. A patch there to make sure that in case it is tested yet again during this session, that it does what it's supposed to do, and that is try to absorb as much of that impact as possible.
And the fact that it crumbled is actually a great thing, because that means it has dissipated that energy. It crumbled, it crushed those sub barriers behind there. So that's a very, very good thing.
One thing you notice too is that it has gotten a little bit more gray around here now. So not dealing with as much of the sun as we saw for the majority of this qualifying session so far. And we've been kind of at a stopping point for the last 15 minutes or so.
But a little bit of cloud cover is typically good around here. Just cools it down a touch. And if you remember back to 2013 when Ryan Briscoe went for his pole position run, it was that perfect little cloud cover that came in. It was a super sunny day, but just before his run, a slight cloud cover rolled in. And I think that was partially what helped him get to that pole position.
Cleanup continuing along the back straightaway here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just from a quick view, it appears that most of the debris has been picked up. And frankly, nothing more scientific. The reason why the guys are walking up and down is to make sure that every little potential piece that could cut a tire, that could do damage to a race car, is up and off the racing surface.
And they are so good about that here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You'll notice if you watched a lot of the practice during the month, they'll sometimes go caution. If there's even the slightest bit of a cut in someone's tire when they've come into the pits, they'll go full course yellow. They'll shut the whole track down for an extended period of time, examine the entire surface of the track to make sure that nothing can happen to any of the other runners.
The Homatro safety team doing yeoman's work as per usual. And 4 cars have qualified with a 4-lap average of 230 miles per hour or more. 5 cars currently in the 229.39 range. About a half-mile-an-hour difference between the speed of Helio Castro Neves that puts him in tomorrow's Fast 9 and Graham Rahal, 228.835. So your 4-lap average must be 229.390 to be a part of tomorrow's Fast 9, which is set for 5 o'clock local time tomorrow. And the qualifications for spots 10 through 33, those will begin at 2:45 local time. And this wasn't the way that today was intended. But because of the rain delay and because of the time crunch to get these qualification runs in, well, it'll be very similar tomorrow. Everybody got one opportunity today. Everyone will get one opportunity tomorrow, and you will literally go out in the reverse order of the speed in which you qualified today. So driver number 33 or 32, because of Sebastian Bourdais not being able to complete his qualifying run, that driver goes out first. We work all the way up through the field to the fastest driver from today as teammates Oriol Servia and Graham Rahal catch up. Rahal again knows he'll be in that 10 through 33 group tomorrow. Servia yet to make his qualifying attempt this afternoon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised here if they are analyzing Sebastian Bourdais' hit there. Again, just going back to the IndyCar community, everyone here just genuinely cares for each other's well-being, and Graham Rahal and Oriol Servia, two of the great guys in the IndyCar series.
And frankly, the way that they see such things, the interconnector world we lived in, kind of the same thing that we're doing, just checking the phone, see if you see a replay or even an update on Twitter in terms of condition or things like that. And I think the grimace from Graham Rahal says enough. Our pause continues at IMS. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Greg Rakestraw, Anders Krohn with you. Qualifications have come to a halt here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway because of a significant incident involving a man that, well, was the fastest we had seen all month long in Sebastian Bourdais of Dale Coyne Racing. Dale's been coming here and running at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in an IndyCar series for quite some time, but perhaps never felt better about his opportunities of potentially winning this race because of the speed that Bourdais had shown throughout the course of this season. As you can tell, the repair work continues. This is in turn 2. This would be at the southeast end of the facility. So everything has kind of come to a hold, and understandably so. Those drivers that have already attempted to qualify, they knew their days were done the moment they brought their cars back into the pit area and then onto Gasoline Alley. But the drivers here await for the opportunity to go back and do what they do, and that is make race cars go fast and do so amazingly so. We will hear from Dr. Jerry Punch coming up in a matter of moments, as we will get the latest word from the IndyCar Series as to what they can tell us on the condition of Sebastian Bourdais. And amongst those that have yet to qualify, we kind of talked about who is up in the near future. That it'll first be Rossi, then Andretti, then Sato, Joseph Newgarden to follow after that. Local favorite Ed Carpenter will be one of the last to go qualify today. Former winner Buddy Lazier. He joins Alexander Rossi as the only former winners that have yet to have a qualification run here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this afternoon. Fans waiting some 5 hours for a qualification run today. They did get to see a handful of laps, all of 51 run this morning in terms of the morning practice before teams knew that the rain was coming. The forecast had been pretty specific as to we were going to be impaired by some form of rain today. Track cleaning process continues. And I would say to finish the qualifying session, probably looking in the neighborhood of about an hour once we get these cars up and running.
And I'm surprised they haven't got Alexander Rossi out of that car yet.
Yeah.
It's not a nice feel. It's one thing to be in action and in your car and in your seat that's custom molded to your body, but it's another to just sit there and do nothing. So I'm a little bit surprised to see them not doing anything, just getting them out of the car to let him move around a bit.
It's that fine line you walk. Do you keep that focus? Do you try to hit the reset button? We'll do that in a matter of moments here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, we await the resumption of qualifying here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We have had some, and let's get an update from Mike Kitchell.
Never lost consciousness, throughout any portion of the accident. We are going to take him downtown, IU Health Methodist Hospital here in Indianapolis for further evaluation. As soon as we have more information, we'll get it to you. But really, really fortunate that that's the situation.
When you see an impact like that here at this track at this speed, and you realize the car's up on one side and comes down, but the driver can still communicate. You got to really, and everyone inside they were almost like they were high-fiving when, and they're not high-fiving because the driver was injured, but because all the safety equipment did its job.
Well, I think it's a testament to the safety of Verizon IndyCar Series, the safer barrier that was born here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and obviously the Hamal safety team. So, like I said, we're all thoughts and prayers with Sebastian right now, and like I said, we'll have further updates soon.
Well, Ketch, we appreciate that. Again, Sebastian Bourdais has been taken downtown, awake and alert, did not lose consciousness, and they're really complaining of hip and lower extremity kind of discomfort. They're going to take him downtown and evaluate him at IU Health Methodist. So that's good news considering the velocity of that impact we just saw a few minutes ago.
Jerry, thank you very much. And again, even Jerry referred to Mike Kitchell by his nickname of Kitch, as he is well known, handled public relations for Panther Racing for many years, now with the Verizon IndyCar Series. So good news concerning Sebastian Bourdais, a scary moment here at the IMS. Well, about 2 hours ago, before we took the airwaves, we had kind of the sights and sounds of the safety cars, the dryers, exiting the track, and we said, that's a good sign. Business is about to pick up. These safety cars are about to leave the track. That's a good sign. Business is about to pick up, clearly for two different reasons. One, because of rain, this because of the incident to Sebastian Bourdais. But it's remarkable to think that in less than 30 minutes, we can go from having that issue to making sure the debris is cleaned, that he is safely transported off of the racing facility into the hospital to make sure the safety barrier is replaced. Kudos all around to those with the IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
It is indeed, and to think that Sebastian Bourdais is awake and alert is the best news we could possibly hear in an open cockpit car. The single biggest concern you ever have is of head trauma, and obviously the way you saw the car landed on the roll cage and really stood up to that test and never touched any part of his helmet is a huge thing. Obviously there can be other things, but as long as kind of the head is contained, that is the number one concern, and the fact that he never lost consciousness is a true testament to the technologies that have been developed over the last few decades, really.
Trying to kind of take care of the oil dry as best as you can. You talked about that being just a visual impairment, something that throws off the drivers, and when concentration, much like the car, needs to be at the razor's edge, they're trying to clean that up as best they can, but they frankly also don't want to leave Alexander Rossi in that car any much more longer than they have to. They want to get him on the race course as quickly as they possibly can from a safety standpoint.
They do indeed, and he's been in the car now for the better part of 35 minutes here, so that's going to be not a nice feeling for him as he hands his water bottle here to his main mechanic, Grant Ritchie. He's got the steering wheel off of that car. He's just now putting his gloves back on and is preparing for a run at this. And if I'm him right now, as I'm looking on his rear side pods, he does not have any of those winglets on the rear part of the car either, similar to Fernando Alonso. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him go a little bit conservative on his bars and weight checkers.
Alexander Rossi, moments away from heading onto the race course here at Indianapolis. The man who made fuel mileage work somehow, some way a year ago to, as a rookie, win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. His first year in the IndyCar Series, he had gone the Formula One route, had the American from California. Suddenly Alexander Rossi now once again a player on the world stage trying to defend his Indianapolis 500 championship from a season ago. Remarkable to think that it is the second time that number 98 car had been in victory lane over the course of the last decade or so. The late Dan Weldon partnering with Brian Herta in 2011 to win the Indianapolis 500. Last year, a partnership with both Herta and Andretti Autosport, and now kind of a full-time member of the Andretti Autosport stable. But a young star who's about to head back onto the race course in just a matter of moments. So let's take one more look at why we've been sitting here waiting for the better part of a half an hour.
And he was looking all so good for Sebastian Bourdais, but for this one little loose moment, and oh, the impact is so violent here. Lucky that the roll hoop took so much of that impact. There you see the damage on the wall there, which has now been repaired. The safer barrier back to original standard with some additional steel elements there, protecting where it punctured that wall. But just a violent hit for Sebastian Bourdais. But going back to the 98 car of Alexander Rossi, I mean, the common denominator on his car and that of Dan Weldon is, as you mentioned, Brian Herta. And Brian Herta is now the mentor and coach on the stand for Marco Andretti. Marco Andretti has had a great turnaround for this season. So there's something about the voice, the calming voice, should I say, of Brian Herta that just the driver buys into. And with Alexander Rossi, he was being told to meet what was essentially impossible fuel numbers around lap 100. Brian Herta elected to go off strategy, and here he's off for qualifying for a second Indy 500.
Great to see activity resuming here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Brian Herta, longtime driver and first champ car, then the IndyCar Series. And in various forms of motorsports, there are formidable teams. But in my days of being around this sport, when I think of team, The group that was Dario Franchitti, Dan Weldon, Tony Kanaan, and Brian Herta in their days together with Andretti at the time. I mean, those guys were like brothers, for both the good and the bad way. The pranks that they played on each other were legendary, but not surprising that kind of a reuniting of the partnership of Brian Herta and Michael Andretti has worked for everybody involved.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's why they were so successful as a unit, because they all had mutual respect for each other, but they kind of knew where the on and off switch was. They were able to focus really hard, but then completely break away from it and just do, well, frankly, very childish things.
So Alexander Rossi trying to become the 19th of now 32 drivers potentially to complete their qualification runs here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway today. And again, the speed to beat, you see Helio Castroneves' speed going across your screen. That's the guy that he needs to be better than to at least temporarily put himself into that Fast 9 for tomorrow. But teammates Marco Andretti, Takuma Sato, potentially Joseph Newgarden, all could have a say in kicking him out of that Fast 9 as qualifications continue. Now, normally this is where business would stop at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You got your qualification run started right about 6 o'clock. He'd be the last guy on the track. But because not everybody has had a qualification run today, because we did not start until just after 4 o'clock local time, everybody gets one run today, which is why we still have 13 additional cars after Alexander Rossi that will take to the track in a bonus hour, if not a little bit more, here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. His first lap outstanding, 230.281 miles per hour.
And now it's a question of how well is this going to keep up. To me, he's looking maybe a touch on the pushy side here, a little bit too much understeer. He washes up really high off the exit of the corners, so he's got to work on his bar here. Oh, as we see a bird almost getting hit here by Alexander Rossi on the backstretch, but keeps it absolutely pinned. Not a hint of a lift here in 5th gear. What's so special about these Indy 500 cars is that you actually run 3 top gears rather. So 4th, 5th, and 6th are all within just a couple of hundred RPMs of each other, so that if the wind direction changes slightly on the front and back stretch, you have 2 or 3 different gears to play with on these qualifying runs.
Ever so slightly faster for Rossi on lap number 2 by 1/100th of a mile per hour. Very fast right now, number 2, just behind Scott Dixon. And for the time being, it could make 8 of 9 in the Fast 9 for tomorrow. Honda-powered machines.
Yeah, that is a statement, isn't it, from the Honda guys and gals? And yeah, they've done a tremendous job. Last year, everyone thought that they were sandbagging earlier in the season, and then they just came to the Indy 500 and just ran away with it pace-wise. And this year they want nothing else. So Team Chevy still something to do to catch up to them.
Just a tad slower on lap number 3, but again, honestly, it's all about cushion between you and the number 9 position, and Rossi has plenty of that. He's not going to catch Scott Dixon for the fastest of today, but it looks like he's running in the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow afternoon.
He is, and it's just a very nicely composed run. Like there's never been any moments. He hasn't put too much steering input. He gets awfully close to the wall there. Let's see how he ends this run here.
Last time he saw a checkered flag at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he wasn't going that fast, going down the front straightaway. He also, frankly, got a bigger prize than he did today. Alexander Rossi, 230.148 miles per hour, second fast so far today. His teammate's going to try to chase him down, and Marco Andretti.
Marco Andretti, with that name, you automatically have a lot of weight on your shoulders, but I know he's had a great mental reset this year. Obviously finished second in his rookie appearance here at the 500, and boy, oh boy, I mean, everyone thought he had it won until about 100 yards before the line.
People can break things down in so many different units of measurement at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We talk about a qualification run being 10 miles. You can refer to the race as being 200 laps. Others will say 800 turns. He was leading out of turn number 800, and Sam Hornish Jr. able to draft and pass him down the front straightaway. Marco was 18, 19 years of age at that time. He's had other good finishes here, and while from a team standpoint, the Andretti curse doesn't seem to apply, as evidenced by the fact that Alexander Rossi was a winner last year. Ryan Hunter-Reay 2 years before that. Dan Weldon earlier a decade or so ago. But in terms of the last name in victory lane, we've still been waiting since 1969.
Yeah, we have, and it's strange because Marco is always so strong at this track. He always gets a great setup on the car, and he was the guy that shook down Fernando Alonso's car on May 3rd just to make sure it is right. And if Marco Andretti has his stamp of approval on it, it's likely going to be a pretty good car. But looking at the setup of the car here, you'll notice that he actually has the winglet on the left rear pod, so that means he's running a little bit more downforce than that of Fernando Alonso and Alexander Rossi. And yeah, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it, Greg? He's running 6th at the moment.
Remarkable to think this is his 12th Indianapolis 500 he'll be competing in a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, that's just insane, isn't it? I mean, he's got so much experience considering he's only 30 years old.
Getting ready to pass the yard of bricks for the first time during this 4-lap qualification run. Right now in the middle of the Fast 9 and found more speed coming on the front straightaway. An outstanding opening lap of 230.303 miles per hour.
And they've just put too much downforce on this car. You see that he doesn't use any of the room here on the exit of the corners. That means that the car just has too much downforce on it, and he's going to be screaming in his own ears right now, why didn't we take that winglet off?
But at the same time, if he's solidly in the Fast 9, you know what you got to work on for tomorrow when you're going for the pole.
You're absolutely right. And yeah, if he finishes 5th here, I think he's got a really good shot at staying in the top 9.
The only bad news for Andretti Autosport is that the speed he is likely turning is also going to bump out a teammate in Ryan Hunter-Reay, another well-known name and former race winner that will have to work their way at least from row number 4 or back. It is a rather impressive club right now that would be in rows 4 and 5, because guys that are on the outside looking in include Helio Castro-Neves, Graham Rahal, Juan Pablo Montoya, James Hinchcliffe, and Simon Pagenaud. Ryan Hunter-Reay might be joining that group momentarily. Lap number 3 about to wind down for Marco Andretti. We'll give you the time as he flies down the front straightaway here at the Motor Speedway. A little bit slower, 229.747. Right now slots in spot number 5, maybe 6, depending on how he finishes. Would like to have a little more cushion to stay in that Fast 9. Again, he's likely going to bump Ryan Hunter-Reay out. How long can he stick around is the question.
Yeah, that is the question, and I'm looking at his run here. He's just getting a little bit too much understeer in the middle of the corners here. You'll see he puts a lot of steering input in, and that just scrubs so much speed. Pay close attention to his hands here. And yeah, that is good enough for now, but the question is who else is going to have a stronger bullet in their gun.
So Takuma Sato will be on the race course next. His overall average, 229.924. That is good for 6th quick. Again, can he hang into that Fast 9 over the course of the next hour? Let's get the update on the last run from Alexander Rossi.
Last year's rookie winner of the Indy 500. And we're going to talk about your great run in a moment. But first, let's talk about how hard was it to go out, knowing what just happened with Sebastian Bourdais and having to sit there for that long?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. But when you find out that he's okay, it helps ease it, obviously, but the waiting stuff, but you just go through the process, right, and go through your routine and just go out and execute.
All right, let's talk about those 4 laps, because the first 3 incredibly consistent. You're really high up. You're in the Fast 9 likely. How good was it?
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, we have more speed to come from the car. I think it was difficult for everyone, right, with having one run. So I think we played it a little bit conservative, but we know what we need to do for tomorrow.
All right, so, and without giving too many secrets away, besides going fast, what is it you have to do tomorrow? Is it straight line speed? Is it downforce? What's the answer?
I think it's just grip. So we need to work on that a little bit, but then obviously you can't go too far the other direction, then you lose straight line.
All right, and once again, his 2nd year here, but he's learned so much. Alan?
Takuma Sato on the race course, the 3rd consecutive of the Andretti cars, and we touched on the fact that it seemed that the Penske cars had a bit of the early draw. The exception would be Joseph Newgarden, who is coming up next. For the most part, the Andretti cars got into the back half of the field. We have yet to see one of their satellite efforts in Jack Harvey take to the race course.
But he is coming up here shortly, and Takuma Sato, always a guy to count on here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And just pay attention to how low he's running in the middle of turn 1, below that white line, and almost on the rumble strips. And for those of you who have seen the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, if you touch the rumble strip, chances are you're going to go for a heck of a ride. And so Takuma Sato playing with it, but doesn't want to touch it, because at that point, bad things happen.
Takuma Sato was a race winner during his days with AJ Foyt Racing, had a good period of success with them. That kind of went away over the last year or so. Ends up landing a ride in the 26 machine, so literally he and Carlos Munoz flip spots heading into this season. His first lap, absolutely fantastic. 2:30.871, quickest of those that have completed their 4-lap run so far.
What a lap that was, Greg. And again, what I'm paying close attention to is his lines through the middle of the corner. He dares to go so low and just then opens up the radius of the corner on exit to really scrub as little speed as possible. And despite running that left rear winglet, his car is looking free as ever.
And let's face it, this 26 machine with Munoz in it had fared very well here at the Motor Speedway the last several years. It looks like they're not missing a beat with Takuma Sato slower in lap number 2, but still solidly is potentially not just in the Fast 9, potentially fastest of the day here on opening day qualifying.
And again, all he needs to do here is stay in the Fast 9, and he rides it high off there off of turn 2. All he needs to do is stay in the top 9, then they can work on the car for tomorrow morning. And I thought that was a very telling interview from Alexander Rossi, that he thinks we have more to come. And then he mentioned grip, so that means he either feels like they went a little too conservative on the wings, or that they can just shift the overall balance of the car one way or another just to suit that perfectly.
Rossi, Alonso, Andretti from the Andretti group in the Fast 9 as we speak. Lap number 3, 2:30.236 miles an hour. Sato fastest so far, and does have some cushion over Dixon as potentially being the fastest driver so far. This likely means the exit of Max Chilton from the Fast 9 doesn't diminish the great run that he had for his 4-lap qualifying run an hour or so ago. But a tremendous effort by Takuma Sato, trying to make his day a late one tomorrow at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Great run here. Now open up your hands. You'll notice he'll move to the left-hand side of the track a little bit just to open things up. P1.
By 5 thousandths of a miles per hour, tops Scott Dixon. Takuma Sato currently fastest of the day and solidly in the Fast 9 for tomorrow's final hour of qualifying here at 16th and Georgetown.
Now, wasn't that just a telling photo there of Marco Andretti? You saw the disappointment. Now, the number one thing in racing, you do not want to get beat by your teammates. It's the only people that had the same exact equipment as you, and when you're beat by your teammates, it's not a great day.
Trying to qualify for that Fast 9 from Marco's perspective, he can have 2 more drivers faster than him, can't have 3. One of those that could top him is on the race course as we speak. His first year in a Team Penske machine, it's Joseph Newgarden.
And under usual circumstances, I would say that he's going to have an advantage here from having all his teammates run before him. But now it's been such a long time from when his teammates ran to where he is now that the track conditions would have changed completely.
And let's talk about the aero. He's kind of running full aero in the back. We haven't seen many guys do that so far.
He is running full aero on the back, but that means they might have done other things. They might have increased the negative rake in the car. We talked about that with Sage Karam, which means they essentially raise the front of the car up to take out some of the main plane wing angle, as it were, and decrease the overall downforce level of the car. So that could be something that they're playing with. And maybe if they weren't so happy with the other Team Penske cars, that's something they opted to do, hoping to find some additional speed.
Joseph made his way to IndyCar through Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing. That became Carpenter Fisher Hartman Racing. Then eventually Ed Carpenter Racing, and took the leap at the end of last season, opening up when Juan Pablo Montoya was not brought back as a full-time driver by Team Penske. It seemed like a natural fit. How's the partnership going so far?
I think tremendously so. I thought for a while there he might take a little while to get into things, just like Simon Pagenaud did, but he's clearly got into it super quickly. And yeah, happy guys here around Takuma Sato. They are going to be thrilled with that.
Takuma, one of the more, well, so many of these drivers are personable, but you will hardly ever see him without a smile on his face. And believe me, once you see that helmet pop off, he is grinning from ear to ear about the run that he had just a few moments ago.
He is indeed, and yeah, you can even see it through the helmet, just the smile on his face. This is great to see, and for Takuma Sato with Andretti Autosport, he's now got a firm shot with a top team here this year, and he wants to make the most of it.
And there is always a large contingent of Japanese media here at the Indianapolis 500. This feed is being shown throughout the world, basically, but there will be a lot of folks that are loving the fact they've got this great storyline to talk about going into tomorrow's Fast 9 qualifying session.
Takuma Sato about to get interviewed here by Michael Young at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, being congratulated. That was great to see for Takuma Sato, as we now take our eyes back onto Joseph Newgarden, whose first lap was 2:29.05, so not a great run so far for Joseph Newgarden.
All right, just how much of a setback he had, to use the road course terminology, though this is clearly not, an off-track incident on Thursday. How much would that set him and this team back?
If it were a smaller team, I would say tremendously.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Team Penske, what they do is they just add their resources to rebuild another car, and they have whole packages basically ready to bolt on. They have the entire backside of the car they have as a spare, which means they have the rear wing attached to a gearbox, attached to wishbones, attached to push rods and dampers. So basically, as soon as they have a crash, they have a whole new rear end to bolt on to a new front end. So these guys are Team Penske for a reason, and there's a reason why they've won so many Indy 500s and championships.
Second lap is consistent, but it's not going to get him close to the Firestone Fast 9. Again, you see it with that number 14.
Bit loose in the end, but I was able to manage it. It's fantastic. It's a great car.
All right, hopefully we'll have a car that good tomorrow. The guy sitting #1 right now, Takuma Sato.
Rick, thank you very much. And in terms of drivers that maybe you think have a really good chance of being inside of that Fast 9, really only kind of a couple of three that you're looking at. We have not seen either of the two Ed Carpenter racing cars just yet, as in Ed, as in J.R. Hildebrand. Michaela Lotion from the Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports Group, although if you look at the times of his teammates in Hinchcliffe and Howard, I'm not sure Lotion's got a good shot at this either. Again, these are, we might see a surprise, a flyer from some of the cars that are lining up now, but a lot of the guys in the Fast 9 can probably feel pretty good about their status for tomorrow afternoon at this point.
I think so, but just going back to the Takuma Sato interview real quick, I think the term he was looking for there is the car was hooked up. And in racing, when you have a car that's hooked up, you don't have to think inside the car. The car does all the work for you. You're just in this zone where you're not nervous, you're not overly excited. Everything just kind of clicks, and I think that's exactly what happened for Takuma Sato on that run, especially Sebastian Saavedra coming back to the Indianapolis 500 with Juncos Racing in their first race ever, and Sebastian is a very brave man behind the wheel. Trust me, I know.
Sebastian did not race in the Indianapolis 500 a year ago after the passing of his father before last year's race. Clearly, you hope every person has a wonderful relationship with their dad, but in terms of young drivers working their way into motorsports, that relationship is amplified to the nth degree. And so didn't really feel he could race in that scenario a year ago. When it comes to memories for Sebastian at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the memory that usually sticks out actually comes from the inaugural Grand Prix of Indianapolis, which was great from a standpoint of winning the pole for that race. Unfortunately, that was the one time we tried a standing start at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It did not go well for Sebastian. Could not get the car started. There was carnage early in the race. Thankfully, he was okay. Trying to write some new memories is Sebastian. Solid so far in this qualifying effort. Back-to-back laps very similar in the low 226-mile-an-hour range again. He knows he's coming back tomorrow and trying to give himself the best starting spot as possible, looking to run in the Indianapolis 500 once again.
It is, and from a team perspective, Juncos Racing, all they want to do is they want to make sure that they're solidly in the race. They already, and he runs high off there off of turn 4. But what they want to do collectively as a team is they want to put the car in as low risk of an environment as possible. We saw Spencer Pigot have a big crash yesterday, which set the team back. So I think now the mindset of the team is, let's just get through qualifying and then focus on the race. That's where the big money is being distributed. That's where we need to be strong. So I don't think they need to be displeased with where Sebastian Saavedra's running at the moment.
This AFS sponsorship you see on both the side pods, that has been alongside Sebastian virtually his entire way up. Indy Lights through his time with a couple of different teams in the IndyCar series. Great to see them have a good look on that car here for the Indianapolis 500. Again, he will qualify mid-afternoon tomorrow as part of that group going from rows 4 through 11. His overall 4-lap average, 225.815. He and his teammate Spencer Pigot, currently 21 and 22 out of 23 cars that have completed their 4 laps here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jack Harvey, one of the 4 rookies, hence the bright numbers that you see at the back of that car. That is the modern-day version of the racing stripes. And Jack is a guy that has been outstanding in the feeder series. You've seen a lot of those races he has won in Indy Lights, getting a long-awaited opportunity to get a look here in IndyCar.
He was, and he was for a long time supported by Racing Steps Foundation, a foundation out of the UK to support young drivers coming through the ranks. And he basically won races and almost championships in everything that he drove. Came to the US, came to Indy Lights with Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, and finished on a tiebreaker with Gabby Chaves, who we're going to see later on. Finished second in the Indy Lights Championship in his first year ever. Then came back for a true championship charge the next year and finished second yet again. So Jack Harvey, he's won the Freedom 100 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so we know that he knows how to go quick around here. But so far, this week and this month for him has been a trying one. They've struggled with some mechanical issues. They had an engine failure right when they were thinking they were going to get some solid laps. So not the easiest of circumstances for Jack Harvey.
The victory for him next weekend is simply finish the race. Finish the race. That's the goal for Jack Harvey. Turn as many laps next Sunday as you possibly can. So Harvey taking the first lap of his qualifying run, or getting ready to start his qualifying run, I should say. One of 6 cars tied in with the folks at Andretti Autosport. Michael Shank a part of this effort as well for Jack.
And speaking of Mike Shank, I mean, it's not just a dream come true for Jack Harvey to compete in the Indy 500, but Mike Shank as well has dreamt of doing the Indy 500 for so many years, and finally it's come to fruition, and it's great to see him teamed up with Andretti Autosport. So much experience there between those 2 organizations, and now they're just grooming Jack Harvey, and let's see what lap 1 holds here for Jack Harvey. 226.8, so that's a pretty solid first lap for him.
Given what he's gone through this week, very happy about that. You know he's not going to be a contender for the Fast 9. Just be safe, take care of this 4-lap run, do the same thing tomorrow afternoon, and look forward to spending next Sunday with about 300,000 plus of your closest friends there at 16th and Georgetown.
Exactly, but no, I think similar to the car of Spencer Pigot, this is just about building momentum here for Jack Harvey. This gives him another good chance to explore the car tomorrow, to learn exactly what they need to do with the balance. But then it's almost a completely different setup from qualifying to the race, and for a smaller organization such as Michael Shank, they can't necessarily divert all their attention to qualifying. So I think these guys are just going to want to have a solid qualifying run here, and if they, after tomorrow, can be somewhere in the 20th to 25th spot, I think they'll be super happy with that.
Looking to become the third rookie to qualify for the Indianapolis 500. Zach Veach is the other that we have yet to see take a qualifying attempt today. The other two currently in the Fast 9. Fernando Alonso has to feel pretty solid. He's going to be a part of that Fast 9 tomorrow. Ed Jones sweating it out a bit. He is currently in 8th of those 9, but so has to feel absolutely ecstatic about where he is in terms of his qualifying run. Jack loses a little bit of speed in lap number 3. His overall average, though, very solid, 226.901, and I read that incorrectly. He has actually gained speed in every lap. He's getting the most out of this race car.
So it's, again, a very similar run to that of Spencer Pigot, where he's actually picked up speed on every single lap here, and he's looking very comfortable in the car. There's never really any moments in the car. He's going well below the apron, using all the room on exit. Very nice run here for Jack Harvey. So I would consider that a good first qualifying run here for the Indy 500.
Jack Harvey becomes the 24th car to complete his qualification efforts at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Currently 20th quick out of 24. 8 more drivers left to go.
Solid run there for Jack Harvey as we see Oriol Servia now taken to the track. Oriol, one of the most experienced drivers in the Verizon IndyCar Series. So many starts behind him, so many successful races. So we'll see here what Oriol Servia can do in his return to Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing in that yellow and white machine, number 16. A little bit of sparks there coming off the back of his car as he comes up to his first warm-up lap here. One more lap to spool it up. This is where he's going to figure out the nominal balance of his car, figure out if there's any understeer, oversteer, if there's anything he needs to do with the front or rear bar in his car. Maybe work with the weight jacker, looking like a little bit of a push for him as he goes through turn 2. Getting a great shot here of the front straight at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A lot of people even out today, despite the rain early on today. Oriol Servia, big bottom there as he comes out for the green flag for his qualifying run. His teammate Graham Rahal all the way down in 13th. He's going to want to improve upon that. Solid turn 1 here for Oriol Servia. Looking very nicely balanced there through turn 2. This could be a great run for Oriol Servia. Now pay attention to his rear wheel pods. He's not running any of the winglets whatsoever. That means he is as trimmed or similarly trimmed to that of Fernando Alonso and Alexander Rossi. Very nicely done so far here for Oriol Servia. As he comes up to complete his first lap in qualifying, what's it going to be good enough for? P3 at the moment. Very, very good lap. Only a 10.5 off of the front with Takuma Sato. Coming onto the backstretch here. Still seeing some of that speedy dry from Sebastian Bourdais' crash earlier today. Oh, a little bit of an understeer there. Couldn't quite get down to that white line in turn 3. So this could be a sign that the tires are starting to go off just a touch. Gabby Rahal looking upon the car there, seeing what his wheelman can do here if he can be in the top 9. And as of right now, it is not looking so. He dropped a lot of speed on that lap, over 2 miles an hour, almost 3 miles an hour drop off there. So they may have trimmed that car out way too much. That was a massive, the biggest drop off we've seen all day since Pippa Man. Oh, he uses the entire radius of the corner there. Yet Oriol Servia is not going to be a happy man. He's almost all the way up in the gray area, way above where all the rubber is. So he's frantically going to be working those controls in the cockpit to try and make the best of this qualifying run. Not looking too good at the moment. He's a full second off the top 9 at the moment. All the way down in 20th position the way it stands. He's going to want to try and just complete this run without putting his car at any more risk than he has. He's going to probably lift here in turn 3 just to get his car home. He'll have a chance tomorrow to improve upon his car. Likely a little bit too aggressive today with the setup. As Oriol Servia comes up to finish his initial qualifying run, solidly in the 20th position there. Gonna get a replay here of Oriol Servia, and oh, look at how close he runs to the wall there. That is a sign of the car being too light on overall downforce, so he's having to use the entire radius of the corner. Not at all a comfortable feeling there, and luckily he's such an experienced driver that he's able to hold that thing off the wall, but that is not a nice feeling at all for Oriol Servia. Next up, Buddy Lazier in that white car of his. Buddy Lazier, great to see him back at the Indianapolis 500, and every time you see Buddy Lazier on track, you just know it's a true family effort coming together. His entire family is involved with this crew. He does not have any full-time mechanics on that crew like other teams do. He does not have any full-time engineers on that crew. This is a team that's brought together the couple of weeks prior to practice starts to build that car up, place that Chevy engine in the back, and go for the best run that they can. And what an accomplishment it would be for Buddy Lazier if they manage to qualify inside the top 30. So far this week, it's been a bit of a struggle. They haven't really found a happy balance in traffic, and they've had limited running. Didn't start running till Wednesday of this week. Buddy Lazier working his way up to speed. You'll notice that he also has both winglets on the rear. Very smart decision there from the team to opt for the higher downforce setting to just put it in the show, as is known for the Indianapolis 500. He obviously won the race in 1996. Great to see him back in the race here. Some 21 years later. Winding it up to speed here for Buddy Lazier, running over that speedy drive from Sebastian Bourdais' accident. And you see him peeking down in his cockpit. What that means is he's looking at the bars, he's looking at the weight jacker, wondering, what do I need to do to find the right balance here for the car? Winding it up, getting ready to take the green flag here for his initial qualifying run for the 101st Indianapolis 500. Crossing the yard of bricks. So far running in the very last position. And it's just looking like a very secure car here for Buddy Lazier. Doesn't want to put his car at any risk. Compared to the Team Penske's and Chip Ganassi racings of the world and Andretti Autosports, this is run on a very tight budget, so a crash would be massively detrimental to the overall program of this team. Buddy Lazier, what do you have for lap 1? 221.423. That is quicker than Pippa Mann's average of 219.282. So if he manages to keep that, he will at least beat Pippa Mann. Pippa Mann, which was the first car out today. Very difficult challenge with unknown conditions after a massive rainstorm that lasted for about 4 hours this morning, completely wiping the track clean of any rubber, and a bit of a wiggle there for Buddy Lazier. Oh, and almost brushes the wall there. Buddy Lazier has trimmed this car out, and he's got it running free. Second lap, 221.219. Still his average quicker than that of Pippa Mann. That looks to be his closest opposition here. But all Buddy Lazier needs at this point is a clean run. Does not want to put that car in any more risk than he absolutely has to. So his crew chief, his engineer, his spotter is likely going to tell him to try to not use all the room off the exit of the corners. Looking better this time by here for Buddy Lazier. Let's see what his third lap around is going to be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2:21.463. He improves upon himself. That places him well ahead of Pippa Mann at the moment with a final lap to go. Rounding turn 2 here. 2 more corners to go, then that long run down. Little bit of a shallow turn-in point for turn 2. Gonna push him up wide off the exit of the corner. And now put your head down, buddy. Let's see what you can do here for your final run down. Is it gonna be good enough for 25th? It is. 2:21.427 average speed places him in 25th at the moment. Gonna have a chat here to Doc and see what he's got for us.
Was the car loose? Was it tight? Was it understeer? Was it oversteer? The answer was yes to every question. How bad was that race car?
Listen, we missed first practice today. When we were gonna go out, the rain came out. And we had changed the car quite a bit. So we're guessing a little bit. We knew that to make the top 9 without practice, we had to risk a little bit on the setup, and we did. We risked, and the speed was there. As you saw, the first lap was there. We just a little off balance. So once the Firestone tire, the new tires started to give up, I started to lose the balance, and I was losing it basically everywhere. When we tried really low downforce, we wanted to put the Manitoba car, show how fast we were. We showed how fast the car is, but we just need to work on the balance, and we should be in good shape.
All right, they'll show how fast it is tomorrow, Alan.
Yes, show how fast it was. Indeed, he did. He was flying on that lap 1. Then they struggled to keep the car underneath him. And on track now, if you want to talk about a hometown hero, look no further. Ed Carpenter is on track. Every single person here is going to be loving the sight of him in his retro-looking helmet here. He's had 2 pole positions back-to-back, 2013 and 2014 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. No one else makes the crowd stand on their feet quite like Ed Carpenter. His shop is located less than a half a mile away from the track on Main Street in Speedway. His main sponsor has the entire building behind us, just off turn 2. That's Fuzzy's Vodka. And Ed Carpenter just building up the speed here. A lot of anticipation on this team. And you'll notice he's opted for the ultimate low downforce setting with no winglets whatsoever. I believe he might be the only Chevy to not have any winglets on the back of that car whatsoever. So he is truly gunning for it as he gets the green flag here. Good looking turn 1. He's about 1/100th of a second behind P1 of Takuma Sato. Great looking run so far for Ed Carpenter. He's such a specialist around the ovals, only competes on the oval courses of the Verizon IndyCar Series calendar. And it's looking like it's paying off for him. Allows him to truly focus his craft on the super speedways, short ovals of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Currently 3rd on the road as he comes up to complete his first lap for qualifying for the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500. Great run here for Ed Carpenter. A little bit of a bobble going through turn 1. Doesn't look to hamper his run any as he's now moved up to 2nd in the running. His car actually getting stronger. Look at the buffeting of his helmet as he goes down the straightaway. His helmet violently shaking side to side. Down to 3rd as you hear the crowd now roaring, wanting Ed Carpenter to do as well as possible here. Could he place it in the first spot? And he is. He's running ahead. Ed Carpenter is running ahead. He's currently 1st on the road. This could be an incredible 3rd pole position for Ed Carpenter. He's got 1.5 laps to go, and oh, he almost brushes the wall on the exit of turn 2. What a story this would be for Ed Carpenter Racing. He has that car so hooked up. Look at that, barely using any steering input whatsoever. Coming up, 1 lap to go. What's he got on this lap? White flag. His last lap, 230.278 mile of an hour, a 0.4 of a mile an hour drop off. He cannot afford to lose much more speed here. But what an impressive run here for Ed Carpenter Racing. 2 more corners to go. His wife looking upon, live timing on her phone. Open up your hands, final run down the line. Is he gonna have it? Ed Carpenter to the top. Just when we thought Honda had the upper hand, look at the crowd, elated with their hometown hero at the front of the grid so far. Oh, that is incredible for Ed Carpenter Racing, and Ed, who worked so hard to become a front-running team in the Verizon IndyCar Series. We're gonna get a replay here of him tracking all the way up, almost brushing that wall. That is how close it is when you're gunning for pole position at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Beautiful run there for Ed Carpenter. And of course, his teammate yet to go out, J.R. Hildebrand, in the 21 Ed Carpenter Racing car. What a job there for Ed Carpenter. You can see the joy in his face. That was mighty impressive. Can hear the crowd roar. Wanted to give his crew chief here a fist bump. Wow. Impressive stuff here for Ed Carpenter. Indiana, born and raised. Just incredible. Celebrating here with his family, his 3 kids and wife. As he's getting unbuckled from the car, we have Carlos Munoz on track with AJ Foyt Racing. Carlos made the step from Andretti Autosport, having spent several seasons with them, almost winning the Indianapolis 500 on his rookie appearance, finishing 2nd with Andretti Autosport. And he's always been a force to be reckoned with here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And he's best known for exactly what you just saw there in the shot, getting so low in these corners, almost touching that curb. AJ Foyt looking upon Carlos Munoz, and I honestly believe if you're going to get a true testament or a true read on your car's performance here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, there is no better man to place in your car but Carlos Munoz. AJ Foyt Racing haven't had a solid start to the season so far, but as we all know, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway can reset all of that and change the entire path of the season. Carlos Munoz's first lap was 227.7, which currently would be good enough to place him in the 21st spot. Coming up to do his 2nd lap here. Finished 2nd both in 2013, 2016. Last year, everyone thought he was en route to win the race when it appeared Alexander Rossi had ran out of fuel. Alexander Rossi miraculously managed to make it to the end. Carlos Munoz finishing 2nd yet again. And he was just distraught. Carlos Munoz here, rounding turn 4. Gonna be 1 more lap to go here at the line, crossing the famous yard of bricks. Still running in that 22nd spot there. Not a great run here, but a solid one for Carlos Munoz thus far. Again, we're paying close attention to the rear pods here. No winglets on that. They've trimmed that car out as much as they possibly can in the ABC supply car. Coming now into turn 3. 1.5 corners to go. What can Carlos Munoz do? Currently running 21st on the road. Open up your hands, 5th gear, power down, all the way over to the left-hand side of the track. and that places Carlos Munoz 21st. His teammate Connor Daly currently sitting 24th. Let's check in with Rick DeBurle and what he's got for us.
Well, Alan Bestwick, you called it. When he got out of the car, he turned to his wife and he said, that was a surprise. Why?
I mean, call me pessimistic, I don't know, but I felt better going into qualifying. You know, I thought Will and I had the fastest Chevys all week, but there were some big numbers going up there. I thought I could run a 230. I didn't know if I could run 4 of them, but the team did a great job. The balance was really, really good, the 4 laps. It was hard at the end, but really, you know, I think Ryder, my middle son, he drew a late draw for us, and I think that helped today. I asked him to draw 6, and he pulled 60, and I was like, good job, you were close, you got the first number. But you know, just happy. You know, I'm excited. I wasn't sure if we were going to get a play in the shootout, and I love being in that. It's great for Fuzzy's Vodka and to have Chevy in there, and right now to be up top leading the way tomorrow, I'm excited to be a part of it.
All right, there's a lot of different factors that go into a great run. Weather's definitely one of them, but I mean, you're a guy who knows your way around this track. How much was it the driving of the car? Did you have to work it through those turns?
I mean, it's hard when you see a guy like Seb go out and have a crash like that. You know, I hope he's doing okay. But when you get in there and it's time to go, I love driving race cars around this place, and I've got to thank Fuzzy's Vodka for giving us the tools to go do it. I gave him a fist pump going by the Turn 2 Sweets because I knew that was a good run, but I really just love racing here and can't wait for 500 miles.
All right, Ed Carpenter right now, the #1 guy.
He is indeed, but on track we have Mikhail Aloshin, who is an oval specialist, despite the fact that he's from Russia. Almost won the race at Pocono Raceway last year. Qualified on the pole and finished a close second in that race. Indianapolis Motor Speedway hasn't been too kind to him, but he's always got the speed here. And so far, looking like a solid run here for Mikhail Aloshin in 14th. James Hinchcliffe currently qualified P17. And their third teammate, Jay Howard, currently in 20th position. So this would be a good run here for Mikhail Aloshin. Coming up here to complete his second lap. Still 14th on the board. His second lap, 2:29.465, almost identical to his first lap. That Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports Honda entry looking really solid and consistent. Using all the room coming off turn 2. Oh, almost nudges the wall as he exits turn 3 there, Mikhail Aloshin. Absolutely no fear whatsoever with Mikhail as he comes up to complete his third lap. 2:29.063, 0.4 of a mile an hour down on his previous lap. Mikhail Aloshin, what can you do on your final lap? One final run down the back straight to adjust your weight jacker, your front or rear bar to improve that balance just a little bit. Not looking like a top 9 performance here for Mikhail Aloshin. That will put the entire Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports out of the Fast 9. Unexpected. Coming up the line to complete his run. And it will be 14th for Mikhail Aloshin, just ahead of Graham Rahal, Joseph Newgarden, Juan Pablo Montoya, James Hinchcliffe, Simon Pagenaud, and Sage Karam rounding out the top 20. Let's hear more from Doc.
And we're with Carlos Munoz, 2-time runner-up, including a year ago in the Indy 500, so the race days are always good for you. How about qualifying day? A little bit of a struggle today.
Yeah, it was a little bit struggle, you know. The car felt good, you know, just missing the speed. But nothing, you know, I think the team is doing the 100% they can. It's not like they're not working 100%, and, you know, it's nothing to say if they're working 100%. But our race car trim seems better, you know, for the race, a little bit more downforce. seems better with the traffic. I was quite competitive on the long runs this week, so everything can happen. You know, it's in the 500. People have done it from the back, like Ryan or Montoya. So we'll see what we got. You know, we knew in qualifying we're going to be a little slow, but everything can happen for the race.
All right, driver for A.J. Foyt, that famous number 14, Carlos Munoz. Not that great in qualifying today, but you know what he does on race day. He's always there in the top 5.
J.R. Hildebrand now out on track. Thank you so much, Doc, for that insight with Carlos Munoz, who will no doubt be stronger in the race. That is typically where he comes alive at the Indianapolis 500. J.R. Hildebrand, just 2 more drivers remain. J.R. and then Gabby Chaves. J.R. Hildebrand wanting to beat his team owner, Ed Carpenter, who's currently at the top. And if you remember back to the 2011 Indy 500, huge disappointment for J.R. Hildebrand, who led the race through the final corner, went to avoid a slowing Charlie Kimball, got caught up in the marbles, slammed into the barrier, full throttle on 2 wheels across the start-finish line, finished second to none other than Dan Weldon in the 98 Brian Hurd Autosport and Sam Schmidt car. Really, really good so far here for J.R. Hildebrand, running first on the road. Ed Carpenter Racing has something figured out. A little bit slow coming off turn 2. He's dropping to third. J.R. Hildebrand not as happy in his car as that of Ed Carpenter as he comes up to complete his first lap. 2:30.834. That is a flying lap for J.R. Hildebrand. Looks like he picked up some speed through 1 and 2, lost little in 3 and 4, but altogether put together a flying lap to be leading the charts as of right now. This could be a banner day for Ed Carpenter Racing. The local team, and he runs so high coming off turn 3 there. That moment would not have been nice inside the cockpit for J.R. Hildebrand. Coming up to complete his second lap. 2:30.396. Just over 0.4 of a mile an hour slow down here for J.R. Hildebrand. Could they potentially have taken a little too much downforce out of that Ed Carpenter Racing car, and he runs high off of turn 2. J.R. Hildebrand so badly wanting to get his revenge here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Got so close to winning the race in 2011, wanting to conclude the deal here at the 101st running of the race. Paying attention to the wind socket, a little bit of a headwind now going down the front straight. That's not going to be helping his cause any. It's dropped down to 4th. Final lap here for J.R. Hildebrand. His last lap was a 2:29.931, so a steady decline for J.R. Hildebrand. Typical sign that they may have overshot the tire pressures a little bit or gone a little too light on downforce, making that car slide on top of the surface a tad too much. Just 1 corner to go here for J.R. Hildebrand to complete his first qualifying run here at Indianapolis. As he comes to the line, is he going to improve? No. It's 4th for J.R. Hildebrand. Ed Carpenter still up front. Still a mighty impressive run for that entire team. 1 car remains. The Harding Racing car of Gabby Chaves. Brand new team set up for the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500. They've shown some great speed so far this month. Have had a solid run altogether, and Harding Racing has ambitions of becoming a mainstay in the Indianapolis 500. Gabby Chaves, Rookie of the Year in IndyCar back in 2015 with Brian Hurd Autosport. Did a great job overall. So see, he finished 16th in the Indy 500 that year. Since then has not had a full-time ride. Managed to work his way back into the Indianapolis 500 this year with Harding Racing, and it's great to see this young talent back up on the track. He won the 2014 Indy Lights Championship, and we see him winding up the speed here, getting a good onboard view of him. Using maybe a little bit too much steering input in the middle of the corner, running it a touch on the tight side. Little bit of a lift there, going into turn 3. Still winding up those tires, getting the temps up. He's going to come up to take flag here. Green flag in the air for our final qualifier today here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Gabby Chaves, 27th as he enters turn 1. Similar situation to the Juncos Racing team of Spencer Piggott and Sebastian Saavedra. All Harding Racing and Gabby Chaves wants to accomplish today is a solid run, keeping the car in one piece, making sure they have something to work on for tomorrow. You'll notice the unique setup there as well of the smooth side pod on the left-hand side of the car with the left winglet attached, but then the slightly more bulgy side pod configuration on the right-hand side of that car, trying to figure out what's going to be the best balance and overall downforce setting for qualifying here today. And you can visually see it's a little bit more draggy than that of the front-running cars. Just not as free off the corners for Gabby Chaves. Gabby Chaves has been part of Harding Racing ever since the team was established. They've built this team over the last 6 months. And just to be in the show at all is quite the accomplishment here for Harding Racing. Coming up to complete his second lap is Gabby Chaves, our final qualifier today. What's the second lap going to be? 2:26.8, a 0.2 of a mile an hour drop in speed that time by. You can hear the RPMs drop in the middle of the corners. Just 1.5 laps to go here for Gabby Chaves. Qualifying that number 88 car. The 88 car with the famous Dale Earnhardt Jr. signature bold logo on it. 1 lap to go. Final lap there, 2:26.669, another 2/10 slower for Gabby Chaves. This car appears to be quite heavily loaded with downforce, not struggling through the corners whatsoever, not having to use all the room at the exit of the corners. What can Gabby Chaves do on his final lap? He's currently running 26th, which would bump Connor Daly down to 27th. Again, we have Ed Carpenter at the top of the charts with Takuma Sato, Scott Dixon, J.R. Hildebrand, and Alexander Rossi rounding out the top 5 as we see Gabby Chaves coming here to complete his first qualifying run of the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500. 26th. He bumps Connor Daly down to 27th. A solid run there for Gabby Chaves. But it is Ed Carpenter at the top of the charts, and the hometown hero, Ed Carpenter Racing. Boy, what an effort for this entire group of people. Ready to get some photos taken at the Yard of Bricks. And that concludes today's qualifying activities here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Ed Carpenter at the top of the charts with Team Chevy, unsuspected Chevy at the top. Takuma Sato, Scott Dixon held that lead for so long, but eventually was pipped by the two at the top. J.R. Hildebrand, another solid effort for him. Alexander Rossi